Welcome to Custer Wolfe, building a watch company. My name's RT.
And I'm Tyler.
And today, not only do we have some new chairs, but we have some awesome news to share.
Yeah.
That was a full 3 count. Yeah. So, what's our awesome news that I just teased?
We survived the last 2 weeks.
We survived the last 2 weeks.
You know, it's never guaranteed. We made it.
It's, I think we earned it. I think we did.
Yeah.
And we accomplished a lot. Sometimes 2 weeks goes really fast. Sometimes we feel like we get a lot done. And sometimes you don't, just as we're scrolling back in our calendar, what did we do in the last 2 weeks? You're like, wow, we did a lot of stuff in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say the month of August and July have gone extremely fast.
They've evaporated. I think they say time flies when you're having fun, but I think what literally that means is time goes by faster when you're doing new and different things.
For sure.
So I think we're just feeling that. So new and different, I think recently we're selling almost every watch we put out now, and the watch of the day are going daily again, which is really cool.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody who's purchased a watch. We appreciate it.
We've had a few tours, people stopping by the shop, Kyle walking around, and I think pretty much most of the people, at least half the people that have come to do a tour, have walked out with a watch. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've changed too much. Sales dipped in July quite a bit, and I think a lot of that had to do with the economy and just the overall state of the world and
The unknown.
Because we were used to selling most of the watches that we listed online.
We were freaking out there for a second. It's like, all right, what's happening? What do we change? And I think we did the right thing by not changing anything and just being consistent. And just, every single day, come out with a new watch. Every Tuesday, we send a new email. Every 2 weeks, we're putting out, now every week, we're putting out one of these videos. I think consistency is the way, no matter what. So
yeah, I definitely think that's something we've learned or gotten better at through our experience here. It's just, we talk about it a lot. We've got a good plan. We believe in it. We believe in the people here. We believe in what we're doing. So if we just keep showing up, working hard, and doing our thing, I mean, hopefully we keep having success like this.
Knock on some wood, for sure. So in the machine room, last episode, you talked about military crowns, military's coming along, and you talked about all the design work that you and Sky are doing on all the new products. How's that going?
It's good. Yeah. Military, I've been working on the cases, bezels, and case packs this week.
Nice.
Or these past 2 weeks. All the computer work is done. All the programming is done. I've just been going back, and I think I mentioned working on some collets before, kind of changing the design because of a few issues that we had. So I'm working on redoing those for the military, but I would say the V3 system that the military is based on is working. It's more to do with the backend, the fixturing, the process than anything else, and it's absolutely going to be our coolest and best quality military edition ever. So that's going well. It's cool to see that come together on schedule, surprisingly.
Right.
Apparently we do that now.
We're on time. Who knew?
Yep. Look at us.
Look at us.
The mechanical design is coming together. Sky has been spearheading that, and it continues to look super cool, and I think it is going to be the best process and everything behind the scenes, as well as one of the best products we've made to date. But just I'm excited about we have a lot more freedom with that watch, whereas we're not just kind of designing around the ability to change and modify the case for all these different pocket watch movements.
Right.
We're not getting surprised by anything. We've got FTS, Fine Timepiece Solutions, who we're getting movements from, who we've ordered 100 movements from and are waiting to take delivery of those. But we can ask them questions
right.
when we have them, whereas with pocket watches we can't. And there's just a lot more freedom because of the size of the movement. All of the above is kind of nice to just optimize things and not only be concerned about making a pocket watch work inside of it.
Yes, somebody asked me the other day, like, the differences in what the modern products are going to look like and feel like and all that stuff. And I said, right now we're just working on the process of building it and the setting up the supply chain for it, which is drastically different because, like you said, like, you're not going to believe this, but we can't call anyone at Hamilton Watch Company that made this on my wrist in 1929. It's 95 years ago. 97 years.
Try.
Math is hard. It's 97 years ago.
I don't think it'd work out.
It's not a thing.
But specifically, like the things that I'm talking about are like the setting mechanism in a pocket watch is a lot different than a modern watch. The setting mechanism was in the pocket watch cases themselves. So we've had to do a lot of engineering to get all that stuff to fit in here and work with the wristwatch. Different watches have different mechanisms, lever set. They're in different places. We get hunting and open face. The movements are different heights. Dials are different heights, different hands, different everything, like all the time. And that's why the watches that we make for Vortic are so cool and so unique, and why I think it's been successful. But it is cool to have a different challenge where we can really just optimize everything from bottom to top and not have any surprises with a new and different movement that we didn't expect.
100%. And there's such a massive difference when you talk about manufacturing and supply chain between making one of something, or even like we do with Vortic, making, like, technically, we'll make 400 or so pocket watch conversions this year. Mm-hmm. They're all one of a kind, but like it's all a similar thing. What you're designing and what we're building in all of our future stuff, we're making everything able to make tens of thousands of them, right. Ideally. Starting with hundreds, obviously, but then go into thousands and then hopefully tens of thousands if we want to compete with the big dogs.
Right, and
that's different. That's totally
we're
different.
Just not going to be able to execute the way we want to execute the future of this brand if we don't have operational excellence, and that starts from the very beginning with the designing for process and operational excellence. So that's the goal. It's to not sacrifice quality, in fact, improve quality, but also having it set up so that you can rinse and repeat without breaking your back to reset things up and refigure things out. So I feel like we're building a really, really strong foundation by spending as much time as we have already just on design. Tools have not hit metal yet for that product, but
we're close. But I think the other cool thing that separates us in this process from a lot of people that I've had this conversation with is we're not designing for manufacture. Like a lot of people hire a designer, hire an engineer, and then send those designs to China or somewhere else, and then the manufacturing company sends them back and says, hey, you got to change this, this, and this, and then we'll be able to make 1,000 of them. We're doing almost all of it in-house. And so you can walk into the assembly room and say, hey, Derek, hey, Kent, like, if we make the crown like this, if we make it set like this, if we're trying to figure out how to assemble this watch like this, does that work, or is that going to be a total mess? And, the ability to have those conversations and design for in-house manufacture and just have control over that whole process, I think is unique, and I think will also just set us apart in the long run, because it'll just make it's more excellent, it's more sustainable.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm excited about
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, we've already got a few features of the watch. I mean, I really want to show off the fact that we are milling this thing from raw billet, just solid blocks of stainless steel. We're making all of them out of 316 stainless, the first version, on a 5-axis, on a really high-end 5-axis machine. So I want to show off the capabilities of that machine. So there's a few features that I'm excited about. Our case back is, I think, neat and different than most stuff out on the market. We're sinking the crown of the watch into the case and actually milling the case tube directly into the case, so it's not a separate part, which would be, one less part to make, which is always nice.
Right.
But should be more stable, stronger, more waterproof, like all of the above. It's things like that you wouldn't be able to do with, what do you call those people? Just private label manufacturers or
OEM, I think some people call it.
Yeah. But it's exciting. I think it's all going to come together quick. And on that topic, the saga of the used machines, the DMG machines that we got, the Swiss and the 5-axis mill, we are closer.
I think you said the other day, you said these will be our first and last used machines that we purchase.
Yes.
Is that still
100% worth it this time around, but not planning on doing this again. Like,
if we had a list of all the things that were like that, of like, glad we tried it, never again.
Yep. Glad it happened.
Like the 2-piece case with the cantilever.
Yeah, I'm not glad that happened. But,
because you personally assembled them, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They came out beautiful, but we had to try really hard to make those work.
Yeah.
That was just a lot of time hand adjusting and
It worked. It's how we got here.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, and the customers that I've talked to that have some of those first, maybe the first 150 watches that we made were like that. I it's hard to know. But the customers I've talked to, like, I've had probably 5 or 6 customers tell me this exact same thing. They said, like, I offered to, like, upgrade it or let them trade it in or something. Cause it's like, we what we make now is very different. And we've made them water resistant and things like that now. And they're just like, oh, no. You don't even know. I have an OG Vortic watch that, like, doesn't even have a serial number on it. Like, this is staying in my safe. And when you guys, get rich and famous, like, this watch is gonna be worth a fortune. And I'm like, what do you say to that? It's like, okay.
I mean, they were such a different look, so different than what we're making now. I mean, we're never going to make those again. So
it's cool. Yep. And
so I'm glad that they have that perspective, because we worked really, really hard to make those. Even though we had a lot of challenges, they were a very, very unique product.
And I like the idea that we talked about with the team the other day of having, like, a little museum here in the space of, like, here's basically one of everything that we've made and talking about what we've learned. I think that'll be really cool for anyone that comes here and does a tour once we get that set up. Just seeing the progress is it's just a fun story. It's cool to look back and see, like, why did we do that? But at the same time, like, that's really cool. Like, that's how we got here.
Yeah. And speaking of progress, the update on the used Machine Saga is we tried to have training over the last 2 weeks, but we went to go put batteries in the 5-axis probe, which we need to calibrate the machine, and it didn't work. So we had to ship that back and get it replaced, and they'll be back for training. But that machine is, as far as I know, ready to go when that new probe arrives, and then we'll get through the full training. I now know how to turn the machine on. Big step.
Step 1.
And then our Swiss machine, they just had a small mistake when they were setting it up, or I'm actually not quite sure what it was. Something wasn't aligned correctly, and we tried to have training for that machine, and it wasn't aligned correctly, so we had to hit pause on that and have some more techs come out and fix it. So with any luck, next week we will train on those machines and start making parts.
And are you using both of those machines for all like mechanical products and modern stuff?
So the goal is to make everything for the first 100 pieces of mechanical just on the 5-axis machine.
Got it.
Even the turned parts. Because the 5-axis is so much more geared towards prototyping. It's easier to make changes on, is the moral of the story.
Yep.
Like with the Swiss, the programming is really, really complicated and difficult to change. And you might need to change out your tools, whereas the 5-axis, it can do a lot of different things with one tool. Ultimately not the best way to make those parts. The Swiss is going to make them better, more accurately, better surface finishes, faster, all of the above, less material waste. Literally everything is going to be better when we make it on the Swiss. But the idea is do it slower and give ourselves the ability to make changes on the 5-axis first, so that when we do the programming for the Swiss, we only need to do it once, or at least we're not changing it because we made design changes.
Right. And I think it'll be cool when you guys filmed a couple different future episodes about like what is a CNC machine, what is a CNC mill, and so I think it'd be cool to share with the audience, difference between the question I always get, like when I'm doing a tour or somebody's coming in, it's like four axes versus 5-axis. What's the difference here? What's all that stuff? And then a Swiss turning center versus a lathe. Mm-hmm. And those are really interesting once you get into it. So
it's difficult to describe to somebody who's just being introduced to CNC machines, but it's cool.
And that's, we'll just keep documenting all the cool stuff we're doing, and it's like, all right, this part was made on this machine, and here's why. Like, I think some people are gonna really, really like that, and then some people might want to just watch the episodes. Like the last one I did was the definition of American made. More on like the marketing side. We've talked about that a lot. So there's probably other episodes we can make about the difference between like in-house and contract manufacturing, and why and why not, and all those kind of things. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, besides those machines being delayed, which it's kind of expected, as much as it can be expected, everything is going pretty darn good. The only issues we've had with the Haas machines, we had an airline rupture 2 days ago that was loud and scary, but was an easy fix. This guy was able to fix that real quick. We were able to keep running with Kent building watches in the assembly room. The way we do it, Derek is more experienced. He's been with us for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And he just knows the product inside and out. So he handles repairs and kind of those more difficult things. And then Kent, our new watchmaker, as of, what did he start? Beginning of July?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Month and a half.
He is working on building the prefabricated watches under Derek's supervision, and Derek checks all the watches to make sure that they're up to his standards. But with Kent being able to focus just on building new watches, production has really smoothed out a lot more. And because they're building watches faster, we are barely staying ahead of them in the machine room in terms of making cases. So one of the things I'm excited about doing, and has become a lot more urgent in my mind, is the Swiss machine is going to take over all of the parts that our ST20 lathe is currently making. Mm-hmm. The ST20 is a larger machine, and we initially bought it because it can do small stuff and it can do bigger stuff.
Right.
So I was hoping that this is how it would happen when we purchased that machine, but the Swiss is going to be better at that small stuff because it's made just for that small stuff.
Yep.
It's going to be faster, and it's going to be better quality, more repeatable, all of the above. And then the ST, we are going to switch that. Instead of making small turn parts like the crowns, the case tube, stem, sleeves, things of that nature, all under that big, the ST is going to start making bezels and case backs,
right?
Which are round and well suited for a lathe, and we have live tooling on our lathes, so they can also do milling, like the tool ports and stuff that aren't just simple round features. and it will be able to do those really well. That's really what that machine is made for, that size of part.
Yeah.
And it will be able to do it a lot faster with better surface finishes than the mill can do it right now. So that's kind of our urgency around that Swiss machine, is to take parts away from the ST that it's better at than the ST, and put parts on the ST that the ST will be better at making. And that, because currently we make those bezels and case backs on the VM2, which is our main case machine.
Yep.
So we'll be able to revise the fixturing on that machine. Right now it's set up, every time we hit the button, we have 2 pallets, and each of those pallets can make 1 case back, and 1 bezel.
Yep.
All the different operations. There's like 18 total operations that are happening each time we hit the button. But each time we hit the button, we get 2 complete cases. Mm-hmm. We'll be able to revise that fixturing, take some stuff off, add some stuff on, and reuse all the stuff that we already have, just reconfigure it in a way that will make 4 cases every time we hit the button. And that will mean that machine is now doing what it's best at doing too.
Yep.
So the Swiss is really about optimizing our production, but the 5-axis is just totally for mechanical and prototyping and eventually production for that product.
And everything that you just described is, I think, a conversation that I've had with a lot of customers of like what is separating like in-house versus contract manufacturing. And that's when a lot of people, even if they're assembling the watch in-house, right, they're like building the watch, they just order those parts. They're like, they call up the manufacturer in China or whatever, and they say, you know, here's a design file, I need 100 bezels. And then you don't think about it until the 100 bezels arrive, and then you build them into 100 watches. You have to have this like Gantt chart in your head of like, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then we'll get 1 bezel. And then we'll realize that, oh yeah, you know what, we should make that on the lathe instead of the mill. And then you start the whole Gantt chart over again and figure out how to do it. So it's like the complication factor of making sure you're keeping up with day-to-day production and working on R&D is something that we've talked about a lot. And like, how do we optimize that? But then also, how do we optimize like what machine is making what part, but how do we optimize what human is working on what thing? Mm-hmm. And are we optimized on that front too? So that's exciting to get, you know, a machinist in as well.
Yeah.
And he starts in what, a week and a half?
Yes.
Something like that. So that'd be fun.
Yep. Yeah, we hired a new machinist, and he is going to help with all of those things. It's going to be really awesome to have more time to work on the forward-moving things instead of just maintaining everything that's going on right now. Yeah, and it just everything that I'm talking about, we're talking about, is just feels right to me, because kind of the way I sell us to prospective employees is like, if I know about a better way to do something, like, we're gonna do it. And that's just the theory going into it. If we figure out a better way to do it, we're gonna do it that way, and that's something that we can do because we make it ourselves.
Right.
And I think that gives me a lot of pride, but I think it also gives our employees a lot of pride and ownership, especially in the machine room, because they can see that we're constantly making improvements. We're not just saying, oh, this works, okay, let's keep doing that.
And that what is better conversation comes up in a cool way, where it's like maybe that change is better for manufacturing, but is it still the same or better for assembly? And if not, how do we optimize, you know, that? Because we don't want to like kick the problem down the road and make it harder for other people. And there's also like multiple layers to that, because then there's like after sales service, you know, and making sure that future watchmakers know how to figure this out. Like there's all kinds of stuff in there that we have to think about. But to your point, yeah, we don't have to do it alone, and everybody on the team is like stoked to like, all right, let's optimize the whole thing, not just this one part,
Right.
Because it's in all of our best interest.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's
exciting.
most of my updates. What have you been working on?
Well, I have been real stressed about our sign. We the sign's done. It's just been sitting in there like we talked about before, and we figured out there's like a variance process with the city, and so I filled out this very bureaucratic, is that the right word, piece of paperwork for the city of Fort Collins, and said like, okay, here's why the sign is too big. Yes, we hear you, but here's why we still think that it's the right sign for this building. It's okay. It should be allowed under a variance. And I filled out that document. We wrote a letter, sent that in, and we have a hearing with the city and like the zoning commission or zoning committee in the first week of September. So unfortunately, the sign has to sit there for another basically a month until we hear from them. If they approve us, then we hang the sign. It's done. If they don't, then we can file another petition, another ask for variance, and go to like the city council, one step up, which hopefully we don't have to do. But that's the plan, and following process, and not trying to say like, I put in there like the previous sign on the building was twice as big as this one. That doesn't mean it's okay. But hopefully it justifies like why we just thought we could build a big sign. So
Yeah, and I mean, Fort Collins is a beautiful little town, and we all love living here. And it's hard to make a town as nice as this without rules. And we understand there needs to be rules. We just think maybe we don't have to follow this one. For good reasons.
We would like to petition the city to see if maybe we could bend just one rule this one time.
Yeah, I feel good about the fact that we've really done everything by the book with this building.
Yeah.
And this is like the first time that we've been like, come on.
Come on.
Like this one thing, can we please just hang up
the
our
firewall? We redid the sidewalk. Like, yeah, just one thing. But it's going to work out, and obviously there's backup plans, and we'll get it figured out. And you're totally right about like if you if you want something nice, you have to have guidelines and rules and stuff. So we understand the process, and we are following process, because we could have just hung the sign. And we
a lot of conversation about just hanging the sign.
just put it up, but that's not okay. So we'll keep you posted on the sign debacle. Hopefully with just pictures of the sign on the building, that'd be great. And then the other we talked about like what's working, don't change anything, like sending the emails every 2 weeks. We do all these different things from a marketing standpoint, and it's like, okay, don't change anything even if sales dip a little bit because of the economy, recession, whatever. But one thing that we are changing is the email platform that we use. We've used Campaign Monitor for a very long time, and I might make a video or an episode about email marketing, because that's really, I mean, we've grown Vortic through email marketing predominantly, and we're switching from Campaign Monitor to Klaviyo for a number of reasons. But one interesting fact, Shopify, who we use for the website, Shopify made a strategic investment in Klaviyo, the email software platform. They invested $100 million into Klaviyo. I don't know what percentage of that company that was, but Shopify clearly has a lot of confidence in Klaviyo and that partnership, and they haven't shown that kind of confidence in any other email marketing platform like HubSpot or any of that kind of stuff. And so many other entrepreneurs have told us like, hey, Klaviyo, if you're selling physical products online, Shopify is the best website tool, and Klaviyo is the best email tool. And I've just been hesitant to change because it's just so easy to use something that you know. But we're in that process of figuring out how to make the switch without harming the data, harming the domain. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that level of technicality.
Yeah, what do you think is the biggest challenge to making that switch?
Well, so one of the things that we know works is the automated email journeys. So when you sign up for Vortic's email list, there's 22 emails that you get automatically. So every week or so you get an email, and it's just like the first email is our story, the second email is like how we make our products, the third email is why we do what we do, and so on and so forth. And they automatically get sent to the customers that join the list. So there are thousands of people on that journey. They're about to get the third email, they're about to get the 15th email. So if we switch platforms, do we just shut that off and they don't get the next email automatically? Or do we try to build, I mean, obviously we're going to build that into Klaviyo. What I'm thinking we're going to do, and what I'm probably going to get some more advice around, is have both of them on. So the current one will still run those journeys, and then the new one will send our weekly email newsletter.
Won't start any new journeys,
and
we'll finish the current journeys.
Yeah, and then we'll phase it out.
Smooth transitions.
Smooth-ish.
We're all about smooth-ish transitions.
There's lots of domain issues with that, of like, is it sending from vorticwatches.com? We have some other domains, but like, can you send 2 emails from different domains? Like, there's lots of very technical things that are a bit over my head, so I'm learning about that. But that's my current journey, is navigating the journeys of the emails. It's
about the journey, not the destination.
It sure is in this case. But the destination is don't mess up what's working, which is email marketing. So it's just like I'm proceeding with caution, I guess, with that project, but learning a lot at the same time. So if you happen to be watching this or are an email marketing expert, email me. Because I think Klaviyo is the right choice. The only other option that I looked at is HubSpot, and HubSpot's awesome, but it's $3,000 a month to just open the program. If you want to do anything, there's more expensive things. So that's
probably worth it, but we're not quite there.
Hard to stomach.
Yeah.
So baby steps on a lot of that stuff. But yeah, that's, I mean, lots of other stuff going on. We'll see how the Made in USA definition video goes. We just launched that the other day, so we'll see how people like those shorter episodes that are just me, just you. So hit us up in the comments on what episode types that you like, what you want to see more of, what questions you have about lathes and mills and marketing and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get those questions answered for you. We love that stuff.
Yeah, we got a comment about specifics of how they used to make the pocket watch movements in the past. And I think that's a cool idea for an episode. Maybe we can talk about how they used to machine parts for the old pocket watches versus how we do things now, and how it's different from the past and present.
Break out some black and white footage.
Yeah.
Show people the old ways, the steam engines powering the machines.
It's very cool.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always asks, like, how did they make these 100 years ago? And I've looked at a lot of it, and I know some of it, but like a lot of it is still a mystery. But we can talk about what we know. Yeah.
No, I think that'd be a really cool way to do it. So all that's coming at you, but it won't be coming at you unless you subscribe below, like how I tied that in there. So make sure you subscribe here on YouTube if you want to learn more about Vortic Watch Company and the process of building a watch company, which we call Custer Wolfe Building a Watch Company. If you want to get an email update every time we release an episode, go to vorticwatches.com and sign up for our email list. We send just that one email every week with the watches that we've made in the last week and the link to this episode. And definitely follow us on social. We have an Instagram for Custer Wolfe, so you can follow along there, but we're also at Vortic Watches on Instagram. And we talked about before we hit record, maybe dabbling in TikTok. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah, and I just want to repeat thank you to everybody who's bought a watch in the last 2 months. That is the only way we make money, and we can't do this without your support. So thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I think it's pretty obvious that we're sitting in different chairs. You just think the chairs feel left out?